Go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Sunday night. Another edition of Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. CP the franchise, Alex Shataros on the ones and twos. Knicks sweep the week and get revenge with wins over the Phoenix Suns, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Toronto Raptors. We're going to react to that. Talk about our player of the week and what lies ahead for the orange and blue, man. So lock in, hit that thumbs up button for you boys, and call us up if you want to weigh in on the conversation, man. 657-383-1509, or hit the KFTV Discord. All right, let's lock in. And also, who was the number one Knicks draft bust? We're going to talk about that tonight as well, man. So lock in. Let's go. Let me make sure we're actually live on the YouTube because I don't see it working on my end. Are we live on the YouTube? Check one, check two?
Yep.
Okay, we are. All right, cool. All right. Sunday, man. You know, I have to knock the dust off a little bit. You know what I'm saying now? I have to knock the dust off.
Look, Sunday, chill. Everyone's relaxing.
Yeah.
Easy going day, man.
Yeah, have myself a good weekend, you know, and that's just how it is. Gotta you know, recalibrate the gauges and prepare for work. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. You know, you should have a good weekend. The Giants, you know, they got to rest their starters, right? They didn't have to play anybody today. Unlike my team, I had to watch an abysmal ending for a New York Jets season. So it is what it is, man. I'm happy that the New York Knicks are at least keeping me alive because the New York Jets are jetting it up once again.
They are jetting it up. That is a great way to put it, man. Let's touch on these Knicks, man. They get revenge. Big wins this week, starting with a blowout of the Phoenix Suns at home on a matinee after New Year's Day. And then you get, squeak by. They survive a game against the Spurs. The Spurs weren't going quietly into the night, but they were able to get the timely stops and get out of the Garden with a win over the Spurs. And then, you know, it got hairy in Toronto, man, but Captain Clutch, Jalen Brunson, delivered the win, and I thought the Knicks got that game. To me, was one of the best games that they've played as a collective on both ends, one of the hardest games that they played as a collective on both ends, and it was good to see them get that win over Toronto, a team who is struggling right now, but you just never know how things how things can change, especially in the East. So definitely good to get a win over the Raptors after the Raptors beat the Knicks at MSG just a week prior. So, you know, for them, they 22-18. Right now, they're 7th in the East. They're half game in back of the Pacers. Pacers with a win tonight. So those two teams battling neck and neck. The Knicks will see those Pacers this week. That'll be our game of the week. Make sure you tap in for the preview. But overall, as good as it gets this week, man. What were some of your thoughts?
It was a good week, man. I mean, the fact that the Knicks were down RJ Barrett, right? You start off this week playing against the Suns, who are a good team. They still have Chris Paul, even though they didn't have Devin Booker. San Antonio, you know, it was still, I would have liked to have taken care of business a little bit more easily that game, but a win's a win. And then Toronto, you know, get payback, haven't won since 2015. It was a solid week. It's a 4-game winning streak the Knicks are on right now. Yeah. You know, got to be proud about that. Like I said on the last post game, I got my window cracked. All right, feeling a nice breeze through here.
Slightly ajar.
Yeah, man. All right, and we got the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks. That thing may be wide open. Yeah. I'm telling you that right now. But it was a good week, man. You saw some good play from Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes. Emmanuel Quickly is really a guy who's been coming along, especially since a lot of guys have been out, you know? So there's some, even though it hasn't been pretty, there's definitely been some good takeaways from this time because once these guys are healthy, and look, we're at the halfway point.
We are.
We're at the halfway point. We're not the only team that's struggling. There are other teams that are struggling right now. The Celtics, the Bucks, okay? Hawks are struggling. They're going through it. A lot of teams in the East, NBA in general. So hopefully when the Knicks get RJ back, and look, he's doubtful tomorrow. That's a good upgrade considering that he's just not clearly out. It means he's good. He's close to returning. Obi is close to returning as well.
Obi practiced fully today. Fully today, so it looks like he'll be ready to go Monday against the Bucks.
So you get all these guys back middle of the season. They're on a winning streak. Who knows? Maybe, you go back to the original 9-man rotation that Tibbs had planned out. Maybe these guys start gelling, get into a better groove. And it's a good part of the schedule. Look, I mean, we got Milwaukee, Indiana, and Detroit this week, but you got Toronto again, Washington struggling. Atlanta, we beat them last time. They're struggling, though. You get Toronto again, Cleveland, Boston, Brooklyn. Brooklyn, you see KD just went down. He's going to need an MRI.
Yeah.
So Lakers are struggling too. That's the rest of this month. That's the rest of January.
Yeah.
So these games are winnable. So I'm optimistic right now for these upcoming weeks because the Knicks are playing hard-nosed defense. Their offense is clicking, even being down RJ, another 20-point score. And you hope when he comes back, it's just seamless. And then the bench is on the men. Hopefully these Knicks, man, they start grooving.
Yeah, and as you said, with reinforcements on the way, Obi should be ready to play tomorrow against the Bucks. RJ, we'll see. He is doubtful tomorrow, as you said, and we'll see how much time it takes him to get used to, shooting, even though it is his offhand. We'll see if there's any lingering impacts and if he'll have any rust, because he was certainly off to a good December before he got hurt, man. He was at about 21 points per game, 22 points per game, about 45% from field goal percentage overall, and then I think about 42% from three. So RJ was just starting to get it together before he got hurt, unfortunately. But as you said, with a lot of teams kind of trying to figure things out right now, Knicks could be in a good position to be gaining some strength here and, going through a good part of their schedule where they do have some winnable games, as you said. That with the Bucks tomorrow, this Milwaukee team is going through their lumps right now. With no Chris Middleton, there's no timetable on his return. Things are kind of quiet with his knee injury. And the Bucks just got washed at home by the Hornets. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow night's game, it'll be tricky for the Knicks. Knicks are obviously going to have to come with it because I think this Bucks team, after getting beat like that and embarrassed on their home court, the Greek freak a non-factor, their defense being porous, they've been turning the ball over, just mentally not locked in. This could be a tough one. This will be a tough one regardless. But if the Bucks are really tightening up, this could be a tough one at the Garden for the Knicks. So the Knicks are definitely going to have to bring their A game and more. Because this Bucks team, if they have any pride, they're going to come out and try to blitz the Knicks early. So they're going to have to be careful. Then you have the Pacers.
They're looking for revenge.
They're looking for revenge. Knicks winning that matchup in Indiana early. And that's the game of the week. It's an important game. Pacers sitting in 6. Knicks a half game back. They already have one game on the Pacers. They have 3 games left against the Pacers. So this regular season series is going to be crucial in terms of how these teams stack up near the end of the season. In the first game, I thought the Knicks did a good job. I thought they did a good job against Halliburton. It was really Nesmith and Buddy Hield that really, led the Pacers. They were cooking. But overall, I thought the Knicks did a good job on Halliburton, and Brunson and Randle were able to deliver the win in crunch time. So we'll see what happens there. As you said, the Wizards, another team struggling. That's a winnable game. And Detroit, winnable games, man.
They're definitely winnable games. I'm also concerned about Indiana because I wonder if Halliburton is taking what Wally Zerbiak said to heart, and he's going to come through.
20 assists. 20 assists for the wannabe All-Star.
Who's ever have Wally stay home that day.
Yeah.
Don't have him in the arena. Don't have him anywhere nearby. Don't let Halliburton see who this man is to show why he's going to be an all-star.
Yeah.
All right? Don't. That's my plea.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. So, again, couple of challenging ones this week, but a couple of winnable ones as well. So, I think this Knicks team is in a pretty good position. Let's talk about the player of the week, Al, and that is, speaking of all-star, Put some respect on his name. Julius Randle, player of the week, man. 28 points per game, 13 rebounds per game, 4 assists, 39% from field, and 35% from three, man. Shout out to Julius, who, what more can you say about the guy, man? He's been absolutely cooking on both ends. I felt like, let me just record this real quick.
Recording in progress.
I felt like his defensive intensity has been there in these games. Offensively, just being very patient, making good decisions. If you watch how he's setting guys up and getting guys open, reading the defense very well, just taking what the defense is giving him. He's very patient out there. He just looks good. And then from three, man, obviously in Toronto, it was on display. But if you look at each month, his attempts from three has been going crazy. 4 in October per game, 7 in November, 9 in December. And in these 3 games so far this month, he's had 10 3-point attempts a game. And that was a big question mark going into this season, was after he had a bad shooting stretch, or bad shooting season last year, especially from three. He was only at 31% after he shot over 40 the year before that. The question was, would he be able to regain that? And now he's back up to league average. He's taking better threes. He's taking good shots. And the defense is daring him to shoot. He's knocking them down.
At some point, we're going to have the conversation. Maybe it might be tonight that he's a stretch 4.
he's looking like it, man. Looking like it right now.
And because he's shooting like that, it's given Mitchell Robinson an opportunity to really attack the paint. Because remember, that was a lot of the conversation too last season, was that, and even the year before that, it's too crowded with Mitch and Randle in the paint. But now if Randle's going to continue to hit like this, he's taking, like you said, he's averaging 10 3-point attempts per game right now this month.
Yeah.
That's very high. If he's averaging league average 35.5% off of those, like you have to respect his shot at that point. The way he was going off in Toronto, you saw the Raptors had to respect his shot from behind the perimeter. So if he's able to do that, it creates a lot more spacing for Mitchell Robinson, and not only Robinson as well, but everybody else. You give opportunities for Brunson, for RJ. Actually, going back to my article that I wrote about Randle and talking about his shot diet, you look at RJ's and Brunson's shot diet. Both of those guys do 60% of their work or more inside the 3-point arc. So I think because of that, if Randle's going to be hitting that, you give RJ the ability to go downhill and to attack the rim. You give Brunson the ability to, use his footwork to attack inside the paint.
Yeah.
And those guys can shoot well from 3 too. But when you create that much space for everybody else to operate, that's different. It's game-changing for the Knicks, considering that we've always been asking for somebody to be consistent from 3. And then you add someone like Quentin Grimes to that mix as well.
Right.
That's game changer. That's a game changer right there.
It opens things up immensely for this offense, because again, that was another question mark, was how is the spacing going to be with this offense, with this starting 5? How would that impact Brunson, who was used to a lot more spacing when he was at Dallas, and hasn't impacted him at all, really. He's still cooking. But you tack on what Julius is doing from 3, what RJ was doing before he got hurt, and adding in a Grimes, and now you have 3 guys who are at 40% or closer. Now you open things up. The driving lanes are open. Mitch is able to operate. These guys have space to maneuver. Transition buckets. They've been much better in transition from October on. They've been much, much better in transition. The spacing's been good. It's a lot of possibilities there, especially the way Julius is playing.
And look, even Randle talked about it in the post game after playing Toronto. I forget which reporter asked him the question, but he's saying that these guys are getting more comfortable playing in the half court because they're getting familiar with each other's games. We talked about that in the last post game too, right?
Yeah.
And when you start to just learn the basics of what everyone likes to do and where they like to be on the court, you can start adding new wrinkles to that. Well, even during that game, right, we're talking about the floor spacing. We saw Mitch able to cut down easy lanes to get easy dunks from Brunson, whether that was an inbound pass, or Grimes, who decided to pull the rock out and find a cutting Mitch. When you start getting stuff like that, that's how you start creating easier basketball plays. So spacing's been really good for the Knicks so far.
So far, so good. And then, as you talk about Mitch, the impact that a Mitch brings is that he brings an impact on many fronts. But as I was talking to Fred Katz, part of what our conversation was in terms of Mitch's impact is the Knicks are still at near league lows in effective field goal percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But with Mitch and his ability to offensive rebound, 8 offensive rebounds against the Raptors, which is why the Knicks are best in the league in second chance opportunities. You don't have to be super efficient from the field because he's going to clean up so much and get you another chance, whether it's another 3, get you an easy bucket himself, or get somebody, something into the driving lanes and for them to make a layup or something, make an attempt at the rim. So everybody kind of has their role in the starting 5 right now, and it's clicking.
And I like it. And this is where, you got to give some credit to Tom Thibodeau. I know some of you don't want to do that out there, but you got to give credit to the man who shook up the rotations. You're starting to see better defense. You're starting to see an offense gelling, right? And we've asked for a lot of our young players to get more playing time. And the guys that he likes, all right? I know the Cam High feels a certain way. Sorry, JD, you're not here to represent. But you look at all these guys that are playing right now who are getting a lot of minutes. They're starting to produce. Even Deuce McBride is getting more confident with his three-point shooting.
Yeah.
So guys just need repetitions, man. They need live game action. Practice only does so much. But you got to give credit for Tom Thibodeau for shaking things up for a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely flaws in his coaching. But right now, with how this team is playing, the Knicks of old, when they'd go on a 5-game losing streak, it wouldn't just end and turn right around to a 4-game winning streak. It'd be like a win, and then we go on another losing streak. So you got to give credit there. So
yeah. Another solid week by Julius Randle, the All-Star. Go to vote.nba.com and get Julius in there. We got to get Julius to Utah. So good job by him. Well, let's talk about Stock Watch. Also, Al, a lot of guys' stock is up. And along with Julius's good week, Jalen Brunson, who had a great week as well. Jalen Brunson, who returned from the hip injury against the Phoenix Suns. Took him a little while to get into his groove, and then he was back to cooking as usual. Had a great game against the Suns. San Antonio, he gets his career-high 38 points against the Spurs, and then delivers in captain clutch style with basically the game winner against the Raptors, man. Brunson in the clutch, and you touched on this after the Raptors post game, but Brunson in the clutch, 48% from the field, 42% from downtown, and 32 points per game per 36, and 8 assists to 2 turnovers. Captain
we got a
clutch,
point guard.
We got a point guard.
We got a point guard, man.
Yeah,
we got a point guard.
Yeah.
It hasn't been pretty because his free throws have gone down slightly. He's been having a little sloppier turnovers, but he's still been effective. Even his off games, this team is still in it, competing down to the wire if they're not leading. So Brunson, honestly, I it feels like every week could be stock up for Brunson because he's just continuously doing something that just wows us, whether it's breaking Caruso's ankles for the game-winning 3, whether it's hitting mid-range shots baseline and giving us the extra points that we need, hitting crucial free throws, right? Finding the right pass and getting all these guys in rhythm. It's just he continues to add something to this team and the leadership too, right? I think that's the one that, earlier on when when the Knicks were losing and guys were frustrated, I won't forget that post game where he's talking about got to stay together. He repeated it like 4 times, but you see how it's starting to trickle down to everybody else, right? This team is not giving up when he's in the game. He's still fighting. Even Mitch talked about it too. If you see this guy fighting, how are you going to give up when your leader is going? The same thing with Randle. Randle has not quit either. So when you got your 2 top guns out there battling until the end, it's just great, man. I feel like every week though he can be just
every week. He could be player of the week every week. Stock is up every week.
Blue chipper.
Blue chipper, man. Blue chipper. Can't say enough about the acquisition and the impact that he's had on this team. 22-18, and he's a big reason for that. And it's just a trust factor in it, where now it's like last year we're wondering, how do we finish this game? Who do we go to? I have no confidence in any of these guys to get it done. And now it's give it to Brunson, man. Let him cook. You know he's going to get you a good shot at it. He's going to get you a good look at it. Even in the games when he hasn't knocked them down, the Portland game, the Memphis game, they've still come close. They've been good shots.
They're right there.
They're right there. So it's just a breath of fresh air to have a closer, to have somebody this good in the clutch. And his impact on this team has been immense. He's been shooting the ball well from three. You know, that was one of the things coming into the season was he going to up his 3-point attempts? And so far with the Knicks, he's been doing that, man. He's certainly been doing that. So great job by him. He's up to 4 attempts on the season, shooting 38% from three.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, definitely needs to knock down his free throws in the clutch. The whole team does. I think if you want to point to like one negative with this team is that they're not shooting their free throws well, which is
starting off the season so hot, man.
Right, which is a carryover from last year. So that's something that you definitely want to see them pick up. But overall, man, again, Brunson is leading the way. Where are the Knicks in free throws? They are in percentage. Where are they in free throw percentage?
I'm checking that right now as well.
Yeah. So I was looking on my reliable stat.
On the season,
yeah.
They are at 77.3%, which has them at 19th.
19th. Okay. 19th. Yeah. Definitely got to tighten that up. And they'll be all good, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Shout out to the Rhyme Animal, Chuck D. Al. $10 super chat says, if we play weak, we get injured. If we play strong, we get injured. The league is shaped by injuries. Do not plays resting and playing around them is reality that is making every predicting analyst look crazy this year. Yeah, it's a lot of highs and lows, man. A lot of highs and lows. As you said, you see KD just went down. Obviously, you look at the Lakers situation, got Anthony Davis, LeBron. Every once in a while, they're taking turns on the injury list. Knicks have their problems with RJ, Obi coming back now. So they're going to be looking to get at full strength. So yeah.
Everyone's going through it, man. Everyone is going through it.
Yeah.
And you just got to look at the team right down I-95, man. The Philadelphia 76ers. I know they're healthy right now, but, those between Harden and Embiid. At any minute.
Somebody in the chat, Jalen Brunson, the best point guard since who, Al? Best point guard since who?
Best point guard since who?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Like, I guess, how are we doing this? Like, who's had the long tenure? Like a one-time stint? Like, what are we going? What are we gauging by here?
You be the judge, man.
I be the judge.
You be the judge. I mean, he's only been here 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the last guy that was serviceable was Raymond Felton.
Yeah.
Serviceable?
I'm going Steph.
Steph would be probably the best answer.
Yeah. Even though it didn't translate to wins, I'm talking about talent.
Talent, okay.
I'm talking about talent. Brunson is
more
more
talent
impactful
than
in terms of wins.
Steph.
Yeah. Steph, I wish Steph had some more success here, but, those guys just weren't together. They had no chemistry. They were all out for themselves, and then the coaching wasn't making it any better. But Steph's 19-8. You got to respect it.
Got to. If you're going to talk about wins, got to think of like Derek Harper, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's another guy. Mark Jackson would be another one.
Yeah.
If you want to choose, those are other guards you could think of.
Absolutely.
Someone said Jarrett Jack.
What? Jared Jack? Oh my lord.
Calderon? Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness, man. No. And correction on Marbury, he averaged 18 and 7 with the Knicks. Somebody in the chat said he wasn't a floor general. I mean, he was a scorer first guard. He was like Jalen Brunson. 7 assists. Nothing to sleep at, though. They just didn't translate into wins, unfortunately.
Jason Kidd, I don't know if I could put that.
Nah, Jason Kidd was a flash in the pan. It was nice to have him.
He was playing shooting guard too. He was technically he was playing shooting guard.
Yeah, he
Felton
wasn't
was the guy who was
like
playing
that.
point.
Yeah.
Kidd was out there to help orchestrate.
Right. He was more impactful as like a player coach. That's kind of how I looked at Jason Kidd. Right. He was kind of like a player coach. You know what I mean? He shot the ball well from 3 for like half the season. And then the other half, he couldn't hit the broadside of a bar. He was atrocious.
Because then he got injured.
Right. He's old. He was old. So Harper was good, but I think since Starbury,
That's a good choice. That's a good choice.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely think so. Back to Stockwatch, man. I think another guy who had a good week, Quentin Grimes, Al. Quentin Grimes, 14 points, 2 rebounds this week. Shot 53% from the field and 42% from downtown. I thought Quentin Grimes had a good week. And
we caught the 3 assists, though.
3 assists. Let's go.
It's 2.7, but it's close enough
Close
to
to
3
3.
assists.
Yeah, we'll round up for the mathletes out there. We'll round that up to 3. And the 3-point attempts, 7 attempts this week. 7 attempts this week. As we talked about,
43 on 7 attempts.
43% on 7 attempts. Put some respect on his name. And here was Tibbs. This was after the Raptors game. Tibbs was very complimentary of Quentin Grimes, man. Here's what Tibbs had to say. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys.
Yeah. And Quentin, I don't want to overlook his contribution either. Just because in this situation, you have to guard a lot of guys with size, and sometimes he was on their guards, small guards who are quick and dynamic with the ball, and then other times he was on Siakam or Anunoby or Barnes, and those guys pose different problems. I thought he held his ground. I thought he battled. I thought he hit some timely shots for us. He's playing real aggressive and hard, and it gives us a different tone to our team.
So Tibbs, very complimentary of Grimes' defense and his defensive versatility. And we know the Knicks aren't really playing with a true wing right now. They're very short on wings on this team. But for Grimes, yes, he's only 6'4", but the way that he plays, the intensity that he brings on the defensive end, and the IQ, the awareness, it makes up for the lack of height that he might have. Yeah, sometimes guys are going to shoot over him. Yeah, sometimes guys are going to get their shots. It's the NBA. There's a lot of talented players. But for me, his anticipation of where guys are, the way that he fights over screens, the way that he never gives up on a play and is always fighting and fighting and fighting, it just gives his team a fighting chance. And then, tack on what he can do from 3, because his jumper is just lethal with that quick release. So, Tibbs, very, very complimentary of Quentin Grimes on the defensive end.
Quentin Grimes, man. This kid's showing a lot of potential in year 2. I had to go back. I actually was doing a little bit of deep diving on Quentin Grimes, watching old videos, college clips, talking about his high school performances, watching how he performed last season when he came onto the scene against the Bucks. He did not have that quick step like he did this season. It is, I don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
Penny Hardaway, send everyone on this team to Penny Hardaway. That's all I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
But Fred Katz of the Athletic, once again, we had on, great interview. If anyone watching hasn't checked it out, make sure to check it out.
Well, before you get to the Cats quote, let me play the Cats soundbite on that, and then I want you to react to it. This was Fred Katz from the Knicks mid-season report who spoke about Grimes and that quick burst that he has. Here's Fred Katz.
He said when you look at quickness, it's both mental and physical. So it's anticipating what's coming. Who's closing to me? How are they closing to me? And then he said he maybe doesn't look like a great athlete, but he is a great athlete. But I think the mind and his quickness to anticipate and to read is what makes him really good. I thought it was a really interesting answer because I do think the most interesting thing about Grimes, similar to Obi Toppin, is how quick of a decision maker he is at such a young age. Like he never holds on to the ball and doesn't look like he knows what to do. It's the ball comes and it is immediate. Phoenix has a saying at point fives, which is you want to make a decision within half a second. If you're shooting, you should know within half a second. If you're passing, know within half a second. If you're driving, know within half a second. If you have to pull back out and go into a new action, know within half a second. And you see offenses that move seamlessly, invoke those principles.
All right, so that was Fred Katz on Quentin Grimes and his quick decision making. Your thoughts on that, Al?
You see it. He knows what to do immediately. I mean, even when it comes to the passes that he makes, keep saying this, in the paint to find the centers, that's advanced, man.
Yeah.
That is so advanced for a guy who's in the second year of the NBA. And there's a lot of stock that's in Grimes right now. Like there's more. There's definitely more untapped potential in his game. And I'm very curious to see how that all unfolds in the next couple of years. Because what he's doing right now, he's reached his floor. The floor was for him to be a 3-and-D player.
Easily. Yeah.
And he did that within, not even a full year? He hasn't even played, I think, all 80 games yet to consider like a full-on season yet. He's done that. So the question is, what else is there? And we're seeing that with the passing. The thing I would like to see next is shot creation. And he showed a little bit of that in Summer League.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a little bit of that now, especially with the step-back jumper. He doesn't take it as much, but we've seen a little bit. I think that's the next thing for him to work on and to continue to improve on that playmaking as well. But he's able to put the rock on the floor. He's got some combo moves, got to expand on that as well over time. But for what he's done right now, he's reached the floor. The one thing that I like that's from Fred Katz's most recent article on Quentin Grimes is that he knows that Second Spectrum has a statistic called blow-by rate. And I got to be very careful about this because I remember the preseason.
Yeah, boss.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I remember.
You're good. You're good.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are 174 NBA players with as many drives to the paint as Grimes has this season, and the Knicks' 22-year-old up-and-comer owns the best blow-by rate of the bunch. Out of 174,
wow.
He is number one.
Wow.
And you see it. Defenders have no idea what to do next.
Yeah.
As soon as he's past one defender, the help defense is like, I don't know what to do. And they're just rushing, trying to stop him before he either scores or he finds somebody else. And at that point, he makes such a quick decision within those seconds, right?
Yeah.
To either score or find that player. But I was doing some even more deep dive, like I was saying. And the reason I have a lot of stock in Quentin Grimes is that because when he graduated high school, he was supposed to be he was projected top 5 in the 2019 NBA draft. The same year as RJ Barrett. Goes to Kansas, didn't have a good season at Kansas, transferred out, went to Houston, played 2 years there, right? And then he was part of that stacked NBA draft 2 seasons ago. And we're lucky enough to get him at 25 and made that trade. And so far, I think the Knicks, if you want to shape it this way, the Knicks got it in one draft. They got 2 guys, technically, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Top 5. RJ and Grimes, who were supposed to be in that draft. So, and he's 21, or not 21, but he's like 22 right now. He's still young.
Yeah.
He's 22.
Still right. Still young. Obviously, durability is going to be the key with him. But right now, he's a glue guy for this starting 5 and giving you everything that you need. What you've seen from him is why I was always saying is that they were waiting for him to get right and get him into that starting lineup. You know, Fournier was literally just keeping the seat warm. Like this was Grimes' job, but he just had to get healthy and take it. But for right now, he's just being a glue guy, man. From guarding the hardest player, the 3-point shot, being a connector on the offensive end, as you said, attacking those closeouts. You could see it, how fast he is. And he's making that move. He's rarely throwing the ball away. Like, most of his turnovers will be a travel because he's moving so fast.
Yeah.
He's rarely turning the ball away. And then he's either going in for a layup, he's finding Mitch for that wraparound pass. As you said, maybe does he have like a little stop and pop, a little mid-range that he can go to? We did see one of those mid-range jumpers. Yep. I forgot which game it was this week, either Phoenix or San Antonio. So, yeah, he has room to grow, man. He has room to grow. Just getting started.
And the one thing I do like, and I think this is to his character too, right? Like, he had a lot of success in high school. He was averaging about 30 points per game, got about 9 rebounds, about 5 assists, averaging 1.5 blocks, about 2 steals per game in high school. You know, he goes to Kansas, wasn't successful there. And then he becomes a stud over at Houston. And his last year there helps him leads the team to a 28-4 record, right? Mm-hmm. This kid is used to adversity. He's used to not getting that shine and looking like he wasn't getting the shot attempts at Kansas. I think he's going to be that. He seems to have that mentality where it's like, if it's not working, I'm going to figure out. Yeah. And I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be, I'm going to reach whatever my ceiling is, wherever I am at my next journey. Did that in high school. Did that in Houston. I feel like he's going to do that here. Hopefully if the Knicks are smart enough to continue to keep him. But I feel like that mentality, and you see it. He talks about how he loves basketball. You see how he carries himself. You interviewed him. You know how like serious he was when he was talking to you, and he talks about the game in such a professional manner for his age at 22 years old.
He goes to work. Like I said, you just cross your fingers that he can stay healthy. And we got a nice complimentary piece right now, man. Very nice complimentary piece. So let's see how that goes. So that is Stock Watch. Let's take a call from the phones. Area code 718. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
How you doing, man? This is Dre from Manhattan.
Jerry or Joey?
Dre, bro.
Oh, Dre. What's going on? How you feeling, bro?
Yeah. What's going on, y'all?
Pretty
Just
good.
Real quick thoughts. Big week coming up for us for sure. Mm-hmm. And honestly, this is going to say a lot about the team. Just how it was revenge week for us this week, it's about to be revenge week for everybody else next week. We got Tyrese, Greek, Freak. Mm-hmm. It's about to be tough for sure. And I don't know if this is the right show, if you guys plan on talking about this, but trade season's still here, fellas. And I was always a proponent of where there's smoke, there's fire. So is Quick gone? Is Obi gone? Who's gone? Let me know. Love.
Appreciate it, Dre. It is the right show for it because that was part of tonight's program. Perfect segue out.
Did you call him to tell him to set that up, man?
I did not.
Sure?
It's just the basketball gods, man. That's just how we flow on KnicksFanTV. The number one show for the fans by the fans. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Hit that like button. Salute to everybody in the chat. We got Jay Cal's in the chat rocking with us, man. Salute to Jay Cal. Salute to everybody rocking with us. All the regulars in the chat, all the mods. It is trade season. And, it's questions about the team. Will they be buyers? Will they be sellers? Your thoughts?
Let's see. I'm trying to look at. So Thursday, February 9th is the deadline. Mm-hmm. It's the last day. So it's right. We're about a month away. We are about a month away from that.
Buyers or sellers, bro?
Buyers or sellers? I don't think they do anything too drastic.
Yeah.
I don't think they do anything too drastic. I think if anything that we've seen in previous deadlines, they've either added ancillary pieces around the edges to make them more competitive, like Derrick Rose 2 seasons ago. If anything else, they trade to get draft picks right? And they move off players if they can. I expect them to trade Cam Reddish, probably Fournier. I'm not sure that they're going to trade Derrick Rose.
I'm not so sure about that either.
I'm not sure about that. He's a good veteran. I think Tibbs likes having him here. I think like how everyone talked about having Woodson and Kenny Payne being those guys that can relate. I think Derrick Rose is that guy. So I don't know if they're quick to do that because you need someone who can understand the coach and relay that back to everyone else on the team. So I'm not sure that he goes. I think Quickly stays.
Yeah.
I think if this team's trying to compete for play-in, playoffs, you're going to need Emmanuel Quickly. I think the real question is what's happening to Obi Toppin. To be quite honest. Because this is the third year, you're seeing what Randle can do with a lot of minutes. And no one's been asking, because Obi's been out, even myself, I haven't asked for how's Obi going to get more minutes? How are you going to do any more like small ball, anything like that? Haven't been able to ask that question. And we've seen Randle, maybe for Randle, you don't have, it goes both ways where you don't for Obi, it's I don't have Tibbs looking over my shoulder because Randle was out for the end of last season.
Yeah.
It might be the same thing for Julius Randle where it's I can just play my game because I'm not going to hear a chance people asking for Obi Top if I make a mistake. So I'm wondering if they find a deal because he will be in the fourth year of his contract next season. Maybe he's someone that gets traded by the deadline. I still think he's probably kept because I think they're going to need the depth. They see the depth that they need, especially at the 4 position. That's somebody I would keep an eye on, but I think for the most part, I think Cam is out of here, maybe Fournier, and if anything, they're going to get some second round picks. If they're lucky, they get some first round picks, but I think they're going to do the whole get some second round picks, stockpile that again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they'll do both. I think in terms of selling, obviously Cam and Fournier are the prime candidates. I don't necessarily see them moving Rose unless, number one, it's somewhere he wants to go. I think as an organization, they will do right by him. So unless it's a Chicago or someplace that he'd be willing to go, I don't think they'll just trade him anywhere. And yes, he doesn't have much anymore, but I still think of him as an insurance option to run the offense if a Brunson goes down. And you need to elevate an IQ into that starting spot, and then you bring Rose off the bench. I still think they have that because, again, they're trying to make the playoffs. And the 7th seed right now, they're battling for 6th. They're right there. So they're going to try to be competitive. I'm not so sure they'll move off of Rose. But Cam and Fournier, I think, will be the prime candidates to get moved. The IQ Obi situation basically comes down to how do they address the now and how do they address the later. Those two guys... You're going to have to make contract decisions on those guys coming up next 2 years. Are you going to keep? Are you going to trade? For IQ, I think for a team like the Knicks who are competing right now and whose defense is playing at a high level, he's a big part of that. I'm not so sure. With Tibbs having so much influence on the front office decisions, I don't see him wanting to pair with IQ unless you're bringing back a clear upgrade, whether it's offensively or defensively or both on the team. So I don't necessarily see an IQ for a future draft pick being something that they would consider, because he's a big part of what they have. And once everybody comes back full strength, you're gonna need. We talk about the bench needing bench production. Move IQ to the bench. You hope he shoots better, but obviously defensively, him and McBride out there, that's gonna be big.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, the same thing for it goes for Obi too, because you look at, even though Obi is not the greatest defender, you see what is lacking on offense when you don't have somebody that can just run the floor, right?
Yeah.
And give you those easy transition points. Another guy who's shooting the 3 ball really well early to start the season before slump and then gets injured. So having him come back too, in order for this team to really, it's very top heavy because you rely a lot on Brunson, Randle, and RJ. And we saw how bad this bench is when they are not scoring,
right.
man. It is rough. It is absolutely rough. And I think if you're Tibbs, and these guys still have fans in the front office, of the Knicks. So it's not like everyone's ready to trade him at the drop of a hat, So I think they both make it towards the end of the season. But you brought up in previous conversations someone like Jordan Clarkson, right?
Yeah.
And you still think, like, let's say the Knicks get on the phone, all right?
Mm-hmm.
They for some strange reason, Utah's willing to do a deal with the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Clarkson is in that deal. Instead of wanting Emmanuel quickly, though, they want Obi Toppin. How do you feel about that one?
That would be tough, man. It's a tough trade. That's a tough trade, man. I think they'll listen for offers for Obi. Especially with the way Randle's playing. What, for Clarkson? How many more years does Clarkson have left? 2 more years?
I can pull that up right now. Let me pull up Jordan Clarkson's contract. He has until the end of 2023-2024 season. So he's got 1 more year left on his contract for 14. Obi has, I think Obi is making close to that type of money as well.
Yeah, he's got 1 more year in his contract, right? At 14.
Yep. And then Obi is making 6, but he's making 5 right now. He makes 6, so it's not within the range. You need to add another contract in order to make that type of deal work.
Depending on how this team looks by the deadline, like if they're really like ripping off, 2 out of every 3 and looking strong, they're, chasing Philly for 5, I'd probably do it. Somebody in the chat said Malik Beasley.
It's another good option.
I'd look at that one. I'd look at that one as well.
Yep.
I'd look at that one as well.
That's another good option.
Yeah.
I mean, you tweeted it today, man.
Oh, listen, man. With the Knicks needing bench scoring, who better, ladies and gentlemen, than the one, the only Alec Burks? Bring back the Burks Hive to MSG, Al. It only makes sense, bro. It only makes sense. Now, realistically, they don't have a shot at him. Unfortunately, you can't acquire the player that you traded in the same season. So unfortunately, they can't get Burks, but that would be the move of all moves.
He looks so sad in that photo you chose too.
Yeah. Bring back Burks Hive, man.
You did that on purpose, man. You chose like the saddest photo of Alec Burks in a Detroit Pistons uniform.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Bring it back.
To make sure that you could actually sell
he's
this
in
right.
Purgatory.
Like, bring this man home next season.
He's in purgatory, man. If I had one wish, bring back Alec Burks, 6'6". Utility, man. He can play the 1, the 2, and the 3, Knicks Nation. We've seen it before. 14 points, 62% true shooting percentage. Shooting 47, where's he at? 40% from 3. Burks Hive. That's what
that man looks so sad.
That's what this bench needs. You swap him out with McBride, and now that bench unit is ferocious. It come playoff time. Ferocious. You get Burks back. He wants revenge after the Hawks series. You remember that one?
I do remember that one. Hey.
Game 1, it was the Burks Hive that helped almost win that game.
Hey, man.
6'6". I swap him out with McBride. I'm going into the playoffs. That's how I'm rolling with my team.
Look, you're talking about isolation scoring. Like, it makes sense because we need another isolation score.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get attacked by the Cam Hive again. I said that last time. I got attacked. Let's work with reality right now. Tibbs is not playing this man. All right. The front office is trading him.
Oh man.
But it makes sense. As much as I
Yeah.
hate to say it.
Look, 3-and-D wings don't grow on trees. Teams aren't just going to be willing to give that up. So you're going to have to get like little tweeners here and there. So that's why you say like a Clarkson, a Beasley, but a Burks, even though you can't get him, to me, Burks would be a perfect fit for what this team needs right now off the bench. Perfect.
I mean, I remember writing, he was coming out of college at Colorado. He was ranked as one of the best isolation scorers the games like for the game. Like, and then when he was with the Knicks that season, they were the 4 seed.
Yeah.
He was over the 90th percentile in isolation scoring. It was off the charts what he was doing. It's funny. The guy that actually it's funny because he plays good defense too. That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
He plays good defense. He scores. Like
I'd swap McBride out of there in a heartbeat if you could get Burks back.
Oh man,
Fast. But you can't get him. You can't acquire a player who you traded within the same season. NBA season starts July 1st to June 30th. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Sean Haro said, no Burks. Tiz would start him. I like him, but Tiz would misuse him again.
He'd start him at the point.
Can you imagine? All right, Brunson, we got our guy back.
We got our guy.
But actually, I want to know, why'd you choose the saddest photo of this man possible?
Look, man, he's with the Pistons. It doesn't get any sadder than that.
Look, I can only imagine. He's like, I went from going around the corner in New York City to get any slice of pizza I wanted. Now I got to stick with Little Caesars on the regular.
It's disgusting, man. Send Burks to like Denver or something. Let him go shine, right? He's from Colorado, right?
Yep.
Send him home. Let him go play with Jokic. Oh, that'd be ferocious. That'd be ferocious. You get Burks in there. You're going to trust Bones. And Denver's playing well. You're going to trust Bones Highland in a big spot in the playoffs? Get Burks to Denver. Then that's the trade. That's the move. You get Burks to Denver, solidify that bench, bring him back home. Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah. So, yeah, but as you said, on the Knicks, I don't expect anything big. I don't expect them to put any premium draft capital up for grabs mid-season. We all know that they're holding on to those. So it'll be on the margins. It'll certainly be on the margins, and we'll see how it goes. Let's see first how things look when they're at full strength. You get Obi back. You get RJ back. See how the rotation is impacted. Is Sims going to be the odd man out? Is it Hartenstein the odd man out? How does that work? Is Sims situational? I don't want to just forget about Sims. You know what I'm saying?
That's another guy, yeah. Hartenstein's another guy I'd expect to be traded.
Could be. And maybe that's why they're playing him so much. Right?
I hope so because, and it's not because I dislike Hartenstein. It's not because it's because of the fit with the team. It's really more so the fit with the team than him as an actual player.
Yeah.
You have Jericho Sims, who is a better rim protector, and we're just not using Hartenstein for what he's known for. We're not using him offensively. We're not getting him like high post to do some good passes. We're not using him in the short roll to pass and find open shooters or anything like that. Every now and then he'll give you a good dime, and then you're like, oh, that's right, he can do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what this team is about, especially with that second unit. The ball is mostly in Quickly's hand to facilitate. I think for the Knicks, especially since you signed Jericho Sims too, you got him on a cheap 3-year deal, including this season. I think you move Hartenstein. It was a good attempt, good attempt for off-season signing. I think you move him, you recoup whatever you can, and you promote Jericho Sims.
Jericho Hive, stand up. And speaking of Jericho Hive, Ja Morant is a member of the Jericho Hive, man. After it was announced that Kenyon Martin Jr. and Shadon Sharp will be entering the slam dunk contest in the All-Star game, Ja Morant went out on Twitter and says, can we get Jericho Sims in there with them? Yeah. Don't think Jericho would be made for the dunk contest, but certainly one of the better in-game dunkers that we have when you talk about the height and the athleticism. I like Sims, man. I'm a big fan of Sims.
Yeah. It's definitely a high flyer, but you always wonder about the creativity.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if he's got it. You know. He'd be out there doing the Dwight Howard theatrics with the Superman capes and the two baskets, and you got to do all that type of theatrics. It doesn't work.
Man, I hope not.
Yeah, it doesn't work, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Let's get those likes up. Hit that like button. Al, I wanna close this show with an interesting question here. Shout out,
you made me go through with the thumbnail, so thanks.
Yeah, that's right. And people might be wondering, why is KP on the cover of tonight's show? Well, shout out our guy Tony Banks, aka Hip Hop Stolen on Twitter. Big fan of the show, always supporting us, and we definitely appreciate his support. He posed one question this past week, and it got a lot of engagement, so I figured I would bring this to our good people in the chat and ask. He says, be honest, who's the one player that the Knicks drafted, that you believed would do damage in the league, but they flamed out? So, in terms of a Knicks draft bust, we're not looking for a consensus on who that person was. We're talking about who that was to you, right? We developed all these hives over the last few years, the Frank hive, the Cam hive, the this, the that. So whose hive were you a part of that the Knicks drafted that you had high hopes for, but they flopped in the league? What do you think?
Oh, man. This is torturous because I had to go back and then start doing some draft history and draft all this stuff and think about my fandom. Like, who did I have high stock in that was going to turn out to be something?
Yeah.
Man. I had two.
Okay.
I had two. One was Timmy.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
One was Timmy.
Yep.
The other one, who, because we always needed help at this position, played at Notre Dame. If you were knowing who I'm going to mention, Jerry and Grant.
Yes.
19th.
Yes. When we got Jerry in that draft, it was, again, we needed defense at the point. We needed somebody who could distribute, somebody who could knock down a shot. We had high hopes for Jerry, man. He never lived up to the hype, man. Jerry flopped.
The same year as KP.
Yeah.
And then when I have to go back through this and see who are the guys afterwards. Do you know any of the guys who were after we selected him 19th, CP?
After Jerry and Grant? Let's hear it.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, here we go. Bobby Portis.
Oh.
Tyus Jones.
Oh, whoa.
Larry Nance Jr.
Wow.
Kevon Looney.
Wow. Okay.
C.D. Osman. Montrezl Harrell. Rashawn Holmes, even though he's not really playing, but still has his decent enough. Josh Richardson.
Wow.
Pat Connaughton.
Wow.
You're gonna hate this one. Norman Powell.
Wow. That's my guy. That's my guy.
You know where Norman Powell was drafted in that, what number?
What number?
46.
Wow.
I was disgusted.
Yeah, Jerry was a bust, man. I thought for sure when they had him, I was like, wow, we got, tough nose guard. You know what I'm saying? Like pedigree. I like this pickup. Flamed out. Absolutely.
So heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
So heartbreaking. I was like, oh, we got the point guard.
Yeah.
Finally got this.
Right. We've been looking for that long. We've been looking
First
for
round,
that long.
19th pick. You're like, oh, we got not one but two in this draft. We got
Yeah.
KP. We got I could just see it now.
We've been looking for that long. It's been that long, man. Truly been that long. My pick, I got a few, but just for the interest of time in this show, Cle Anthony early, man.
Ugh.
I'm going with Cle Anthony. Anybody that watched Cle Anthony at Wichita State, he was a beast.
Dude.
He was an absolute beast. 16-8. He shot 37% from downtown. I mean, we're talking about 3-and-D. He was a nightmare at Wichita State. All-American. He was a Wooden Award finalist. Cle Anthony was getting busy at Wichita State, man. When we got him, I was like, bro, we got to steal.
Mm-hmm.
We got to steal. And he just flamed out. Then, they tried to book him at Starlets or whatever the case. He unfortunately got shot. And then that was basically the end of Cleanthony Early. It's just so funny. The Knicks picked the two wrong choices from Wichita State and the two dudes who blacked out at Wichita State in Ron Baker and Cleanthony Early. And it was Van Fleet that had the better career. I mean, Van Fleet was definitely a name there as well. But Cleanthony, if you watch Wichita State, Cleanthony was nice. He was nice, man. And then he flamed out.
Was he on that team that went 22-0 at Wichita?
Because
they made that epic run where they did not lose a game until like
18-0. Yes. He was on that team. 2014. Yeah. Yes, he was. That they were a good team. I had high hopes for Cleanthony for sure. I thought Wilson would have.
Ron Baker.
Yeah.
I watched Ron because Westchester Knicks from White Plains. It's right down the street. I was like, all right, and that's when we also had Mason Plumlee's brother too on the team.
Yes.
I saw Ron Baker play it in Westchester. I was like, this guy's it. I was like,
he's making the shot. Bro.
I was like, he's making work look easy, man.
Ron was getting buckets at Wichita, man. Ron was getting buckets at Wichita. Just wasn't his moment, man, at the NBA level. Just couldn't pan out. I thought Wilson would have been a little bit better. I thought Wilson Chandler would have been a little bit better.
That was another one.
I remember the draft when we drafted Mache Lampe, and they were hyping him up like he was KP.
Yeah.
They were hyping him up like, oh my God, this guy, he can shoot, he can do this, he's 6'11". I think it was Fran Fraschilla. Because, at that time, Fran Fraschilla was like the only international like liaison that these networks had. So they would go to Fran, like, Fran, who is this guy? He's like, he's the greatest. He's going to be amazing, And fortunately, we got him up out of here and got Steph in here, and that didn't work. But that was still a good trade. Terrible trade, but a good trade. A lot of people said ISO Zoe. ISO Zoe didn't get drafted by the Knicks.
I had a lot of hope for ISO Zoe, though.
I did have a lot of hope for him.
I was in that Alonzo Trier hive.
A lot of people responded with ISO Zoe. Yeah, we definitely were on the ISO Zoe hive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we were.
I thought he could be
ISO
a
Zoe
six man
hive
for
heavy.
us, man.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole on thing for like Hoops Habit on detailing like how I thought he could have been like the Knicks' six man. I was like, this scoring, if he can improve the defense.
Yeah. Big time. ISO Zoe is big. His mom and his aunt used to chime in. They used to be in the chat heavy. They used to be big time KnicksFanTV fans. Had a chance to meet him out in Vegas and whatnot. Good people though. Real good people. How about John Wallace?
Ooh.
John Wallace at Cuse was a beast.
Yup.
Absolute beast, bro. I thought he would have been better with the Knicks.
Yeah.
I remember that draft when we had the 3 picks. I said, okay, finally we'll be good. This was 96. We had Wallace, Walter McCarty from Kentucky, and Dante Jones. I didn't know too much about Jones, but obviously McCarty and Wallace. John Wallace was a beast at Syracuse. I thought he would have been a lot better. I thought he would have been a lot better.
When KP was here, I wouldn't consider like I won't say KP flamed out because he's doing well.
No, I wouldn't either. No.
Yeah, but I will say that when KP was here, and I remember Lauri Markkanen was getting drafted. I think it was a couple years afterwards. I remember watching that. I was like, being the Knicks fan, that I'm like, oh, this is just KP 2.0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then every time we played the Bulls, Lauri would just work KP. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. We got Lauri Markkanen beta. That's what happened over here.
Right.
And now look at Lauri.
He's killing.
All-star level.
Killing, man.
Killing it right now, man.
He left the Bulls. He's shining. He just dunked on him last night. You saw that poster that he had on Vucevic. And remember, Phil wanted Markkanen.
Yep.
Phil wanted to get Markkanen. He wanted to trade KP. He regretted the KP pick. And we were like, what is Phil doing, man? He's going crazy. He's senile. Get him
Remember
up
the Devin Booker rumors, too?
That was the start of KnicksFanTV. KnicksFanTV started on that rumor. I was packing up to head to the Garden on draft night. It was the first ever video of KnicksFanTV. You guys in the chat, you can go to it. It's the first ever video of KnicksFanTV. And I had my tripods, the same tripod I got right now. Jumped in the train. And the rumors were going at that point. It was like Phil might trade KP to Phoenix. He might trade him to Boston. He's trying to get Booker. He's trying to get maybe marketing.
Yep.
And so that was like the first thing I had to interview fans about. Like, yo, what do you think about this? What do you think? What do you think? And then we ended the night by drafting Frank.
I was never thrilled.
Bro, it was the most depressing night ever. People were like, what are we doing?
Never thrilled. I was like hopeful, but I was not thrilled when I saw it. I was like,
oh.
You know what? And shout out to friend of the show, Kevin O'Connor. I remember him hyping up Frank, and I was like,
Fran Fraschilla, I think, was hyping up Frank too. Oh, it was so depressing that night, man. It was so depressing. Typical.
I checked out that video though. I did check out the first video.
Typical anticlimactic Nick moments. You know, you coming into the night, you're hyped like, what's gonna happen? They gonna make a blockbuster trade. Who are they gonna draft? And then they drafted Frank, and he's just like, oh man. A lot of people said Kevin Knox, man. A lot of people said Knox. I didn't see Knox in college. I wasn't really following Kentucky at that point. I wasn't, I didn't see Knox. But at that time, I trusted the front office.
Yeah.
Saw a diamond in the rough here because for me, Mikal Bridges was the obvious 3-and-D wing that we needed. An absolute problem. A slam dunk alley-oop. Stevie Wonder could have made that pick, and it would have been the right pick. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, they passed up on the obvious. They didn't want to take the risk on a Porter Jr. Okay, maybe there's a star here in this Knox kid. Shout out to Kev. He's a nice guy. Maybe there's a star.
To be honest, this is before I even started like writing and all that stuff. This is the year before I started getting into writing and doing all that. I wanted Colin Sexton on this team. That's who I wanted the Knicks to draft. He got drafted obviously one before, but I was like, that's the guy. I was like, that's that dude. Like when I see like his tenacity in Alabama was just, I was like, that's that guard. That's the guy that we need. We need somebody like that. We need someone who's a dog, who's out there, who doesn't give it. Who doesn't care who's in front of him. He's going to attack. Woof.
I was just like, we needed a wing. We needed a wing badly in that draft. I was like, Mikal Bridges, this is obvious. He was beasting Big East tournament, beasting NCAA tournament, won the championship. The tape was out there. And I'm just like, this is our guy. We got him. This is our guy. And they said, Knox, surprise.
But you know what? We fixed that draft because we got somebody who was drafted. One, we got Mitch, so that was good. That was still good.
Right. Yep.
That was still good. Also, who got drafted a few before Mitch, Jalen Brunson.
There you go.
Him on the team now.
There you go.
So we've cleared the demon from that draft. All right.
I guess that's a good way to look at it, man. Only the Knicks. So we started the show with some positivity and ended with doom and gloom, man. That's what we like to do here at KnicksFanTV. Mix it up. We mix up the emotions. You know what I'm saying?
Have fun with it, man.
You gotta have fun
with it. Look, I always believe laughter's good in life.
Yes.
Right? You can't be so serious. You gotta laugh at what's going on, especially if you're a Knicks fan. If you take it seriously, woo.
Yeah.
You gotta laugh, man.
Gotta laugh. Al, this week, once again, man, the Knicks start off tomorrow night at home against the Milwaukee Bucks and then at home against the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday. Then they travel to D.C., take on the Wizards, followed by closing the week in Detroit at the Pistons matinee tilt. I hope it's not the same time as the Giants game because I will not be watching this one. But what do you think? What are you thinking, man? What are you thinking? Record prediction. Let's go.
So we got Pacers, Bucks, and who else we got? We got the Wizards this week? No.
Pacers. Bucks,
Wizards.
Pacers, Wizards, Detroit.
Yep. I'm going be 3-1. I'm going 3-1.
I like that too. Which games?
Going Indiana, Washington,
okay,
Detroit.
Okay. So you're looking at a loss tomorrow.
look, man. If anything, the way the Bucks lost to the Hornets,
Yeah.
they're angry.
They're angry. They're tight.
There's no way they're gonna come out. They're gonna come out with energy. The Knicks have to know that, and they have to match, be greater than that energy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it has been announced. Giants at Vikings, 4:30 on Sunday. So Sunday's Knicks Pistons postgame will be a rapid fire postgame. It's playoffs time. You know what I'm saying? So we're going rapid fire postgame.
Don't do this to me. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
Listen, man, you might as well go true blue, Al. Forget about the Jets for a little while.
Okay.
Jets been looking for a quarterback since 1964, man. Forget about them. We got Daniel Jones, Saquon going for revenge in Soda to pull off an upset, and I think they're going to get the job done. So rapid fire postgame. What's that?
Good luck to New York.
Yeah,
man.
well, the Knicks they're gonna watch the Pistons up anyway. It's gonna be a blowout. We'll do rapid fire post game and then get to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going 3-1 as well. I think the Bucks are gonna bring their A game tomorrow. I'd expect them to bring their A game tomorrow, and I just don't think we can match that level. We'll see. It was a close one last time these two teams tipped off at MSG. It was a very close one. Knicks could have won that game once Giannis had fouled out, but I think this will be a tough one. I'll chalk it up to an L. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then I think they go 3 straight and go 3-1 on the week. Have another good week.
All right.
Yeah, man. So
let's go.
With that being said, man, salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Remember to support our sponsors, man. Go to manscaped.com. Use promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Make sure you catch that Knicks mid-season report with Fred Katz. A lot of gems in there. We did preview a couple of those clips between the last 2 shows, so make sure that you guys are tapping into that. And remember that the show is available in audio podcast format, man. All the major podcast platforms, so no reason to miss it. And we will see you guys tomorrow night, man. Knicks versus Bucks post-game show. What's your record prediction? Leave it in the chat. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night, man. Peace.